What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're working on the Ovation again. As always, if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. It's free, costs you nothing. So since the last video, as you can see, I took the engine back out because after I was done recording the other day, I was looking at the engine and it was sitting like tilted like this almost. Like the clutch side of the engine was lower than the recoil side of the engine. And I was like, what is going on here? So I'm going to post a picture here. So as you can see, I had a level across the two front motor mounts, and from mount to mount, they're not the same. So they were welded. The motor mount on the right-hand side was welded a little higher up than the motor mount on the left. So what I ended up doing was, as you can see here, the motor mount that was on this side here, here's the one that came out of there. I don't know if you can tell on video, but it is like mega bent up in the center. You see that? So that was causing this side to be even higher than it already was. And then what I did was I replaced that mount with the mount I got out of the Venture the other day. So then for the low side, what I did was, since I now have two of these motor mounts, one from that Venture and one from the Phaser, I took the old motor mount from the Phaser, or the Venture, I don't remember which one's which anymore, knocked the stud out of it, and used it basically as a spacer. So we're going to be doubling up on the motor mounts here. But it's a nice spacer. And then I put the original motor mount on top of it. This stud fits in that hole I punched out. And I'll post a picture now with the level on it. As you can see now, it is pretty much bang on. So anyways, that's figured out. Now I got my new belt. Today I picked up a new belt for the fan. This is the old one, was kind of crusty. So I got to figure out how all this stuff goes back together, because I honestly don't really remember, but it seems pretty straightforward, honestly. So I'm going to put this clutch cover back on, and then we're going to slap that motor back in. At least now it'll be level. Oh, and the pipe, I said in the last video that it fit. It actually didn't. I didn't check the hood. So when I closed the hood, it would actually hit the vent right here. So the pipe needed to, it's hard to see without it being in the sled. I'll show you after. But the pipe needed to be lower down, because it kind of kicks up. It needs to kick more flat. So what I did was, this is the pipe mount that it sits on the frame. So the pipe just sits on that mount. I cut it off the frame. I'm going to shorten this mount, basically dropping the mount maybe half an inch or so, re-weld it to the frame. That should drop the pipe slightly lower and should get it away from hitting the hood. So anyways, I'm going to toss this all back together, and we're going to get the motor back in this thing. Okay, motor's in, bolted it down. Clutches are pretty well aligned. I'm working on the pipe here. So here's the pipe where it's sitting. Blasted a new hole in the belly pan for that AN pipe to come out. And I've got a vice grip on it, holding it tight towards the belly pan, so it's perfectly sitting where I want. When we close the hood, check this out. So it used to hit right at the front. It now clears by about, it's hard to see, but almost half an inch. 3/8. So what we're gonna do is, where's that pipe mount? Here's the pipe mount I cut off. So with the pipe currently sitting where I want it to sit, I'm going to take a bit of paint off the frame here. We're going to situate the pipe where it's supposed to go. So it's going to be right about that. So I'm just going to tack this right here to the frame, pull the pipe out, tack the other side, and then put a bead across each. And then that'll be it for the pipe. And then I don't know, the pipe is pretty much right on this heat resistant stuff. I don't know yet whether I'm going to run it like that and see what it does, or worst case, we might have to make a little notch out of the plastic here. We'll take a little chunk out and give it some clearance, and then the pipe won't hit, but that's very minor. I was worried mostly about the cab. I didn't want to cut the cab or anything stupid like that. So this is pretty good. Oh yeah, bud, look at that. Now we're getting somewhere. Oh yeah, that's not going nowhere, partner. Okay. Oh, actually, it's not too good. As per usual, I am the worst welder you'll ever see in your life, and I'm the first to admit that. So probably not even going to show you these welds because they're not too good. Anyway, it'll hold. All right, so that pipe mount is in. with it sitting on the mount. Clears the hood by a lot, but I semi-screwed up. When I welded it in place, it must have dropped like 1/8 of an inch or something, because I had accounted for this. You see the pipe sitting directly on that plastic there? I had accounted for it to be up like this. Little gap like that. And I must have screwed up. So what we're going to do is, see, that's where the exhaust comes out of the belly pan. There's no actual like retainer where it sits on the belly pan and stops it from going through further. If you look at this other AN pipe I have here, and a factory pipe, which I don't have on me right now, but you see this little round plate here? So what that does is that bottoms out in the belly pan. It doesn't let the back drop anymore. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm just going to take a chunk of flat bar and notch I'll hit it with a hole saw, notch a hole in it, and I'll weld it to the front side of this here where there's room. The back side, there's no room. It's going to hit the chain case, but the front side, there's a bit of room. So it'll just be a little tab coming off that against the belly pan, and it'll hold it up like, let's say, right about there. Okay, so as you can see here, I welded this little flat bar tab. I cut a square piece with a hole saw, so it kind of run around the perimeter of the pipe. Put that little tab on. And now, I should have kind of prepared this better for you before I just try to do this all with one hand. But take these chunks out. I use these as a shim to keep the back off. Oh, okay, well that's in place. And look at that. Just to say a slight gap, but she's not touching. If a little melts, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to hit this with some tin tape, but at least it's not sitting on the plastic anymore. We do have that slight air gap, so I'm going to count that little tab as a total win. Anyways, let's strap this pipe down. I got to put a spring here. We'll spring it to the Y pipe, and then we're going to start working on, I don't know what we're going to start working on. Probably this fan shroud. There's a fan shroud that goes here, but it's interfering with this bracket here that mounts the side plastic. So I'm gonna have to take a chunk out of it. Where is it? Right here. So this piece goes here, but we got some interference issues, so we're gonna have to do a little notchy out of this, but give me a few minutes and we'll get to that. So Yamaha uses an in-tank fuel filter on all their older sleds. So I figured while we're at it, might as well change that. And it's probably a good thing I bought this because it looks pretty dirty. Here's a comparison. So we'll slap that new filter in. And while I was thinking about it, I should probably put a fuel shutoff on here. So we have our line here coming from the tank going right down to our fuel pump. So I think maybe I'll get rid of this little union fitting that's here and put an inline shutoff. I just don't know if I have one the right size for this line, but we'll see. If I don't, I'll buy one. But anyways, probably a good idea to put a shutoff on this thing. Okay, fuel shutoff is on. Added one there. Also hooked up the stator connections, ran it under the jack shaft, lots of clearance. So I got this fan, this fan shroud sitting here. You can see it's just going to hit the edge of it. So I think we're just honestly going to do a little chunk like this out of the corner. But I also noticed when I close the hood, this whole edge all the way down is just to say hitting the hood. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come across with the grinder here and take a little chunk out all the way up, and then here we'll go down for this bracket. I got this shroud on, took a bunch of cutting because of this bracket here. I think I was explaining it earlier. So we took a huge chunk out, and then this panel interferes with it as well. So this used to come out all the way over here like this, but we had to take that huge chunk out so that this panel can be tight. And then the hood also hit it, so this all had to be cut down. This was probably 1/2 inch taller here, but now everything's clear. Everything fits, doesn't hit the hood, doesn't hit the side panel, so that's good. So we're gonna bolt this up, and then I'm gonna check something that I probably should have checked like before I did any of this, and we're gonna check for some spark because I don't know if it has it, so we'll find out. Well, in typical me fashion, things have gone completely off the rails again, so we'll show you the update here on that little fan shroud I was working on. Oh yeah, the motor's out of this sled again. Once again, the motor's out. And you listen to this. This is a little crazy. So James, my buddy, was over. He's like, have you checked for spark yet? And I went, no, that's a good idea. We should check for spark. So start pulling it over, check for spark, no spark. Okay. Oh, and then I realized I didn't have the kill switch from the Venture bars hooked up. I went, that's stupid me. I hook it up. Nope, doesn't work. And I go, let's try the ignition out of the other sled. Nope, doesn't work. I'm like, what is going on here? So then we start playing around with the wires here, right? And everything's hooked up. Nothing works. And then I'm reaching around and I find these wires down in the harness, a white red and a white green, hanging here, hooked up to nothing. And I look around there's nothing to hook them up to. Nothing at all. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then, this is a really stupid thing I did. I ended up hooking, somehow hooking up the coil or something a different way to the CDI so that these two wires could plug into the CDI and be mismatched colors. And I went, you know, maybe the colors are supposed to be mismatched. Obviously, they're not. That was stupid. Pull it over again. Something sparked, so I'm pretty sure I discharged the coil into the CDI. I probably just screwed the CDI. Smart. But, you know, when you're trying to figure things out, you know, you do stupid things. And then I'm going, okay, well, this, at the end of the day, it still doesn't make sense. Like, what are these two wires for? Like, I don't understand. And I start looking around online, found out that it's the pickup coil. Okay, makes sense. So I go, where's my pickup coil wires? And I'll go online and I see they're mounted to the housing on the inside. The little pickup coil mounts inside here. And I look, no pickup coil. So then I go to the box of parts that came with the Venture and I see the pickup coil. So I go, okay, well, we'll take this all apart, pull the motor, pull the housing, put the pickup coil. I must have not noticed it. But then, as you can realize, there's nowhere to mount the pickup coil to. So I'm going, what is going on here? Like, there's no pickup coil in it. It was in the box of parts that came with the sled. I didn't notice that it wasn't on the housing, you know, when I put it together, fine. But there's nowhere to mount it. And then, this is where the things just get ridiculous. So, when I bought that Venture, it's technically like a Phaser 2. I'm just going to refer to it as a Phaser 2 engine because they changed electronics in like 91 or something. The engine that originally came with this sled was a 90, the old electronic style, different style. So, the 90 engine that came with this sled had a bad plastic fan in it. It was grenaded, the fan itself. So when I bought this Venture, it had a good fan, but the metal housing was busted on the Venture. So I went, oh, that's not a big deal. I'll take the fan out of the Venture housing and put it in my old 1990 housing because the fan in that one's bad, but the housing's good. So that's what I did. And this is the housing that is off the old style engine, but it all bolts up. Everything's fine. Everything's the same, except for the fact that the old style engine doesn't have a pickup coil mount because it doesn't use a pickup coil. The stator, the mag, everything is different. So now I'm screwed. I need a Phaser 2 housing, or what I could do, which I'm not going to do, is swap the old harness, the old stator, the old flywheel, the old CDI, and put it all on this engine. But I don't really feel like pulling this harness out because I got it laid out how I want, and I'm not doing that. So now I need a Phaser 2 housing and probably a CDI. So just how things goes. But I'm probably going to end this video off here because I'm kind of screwed now. I need some parts. So thanks for watching the typical show that is me working on things. There will be more on this next video. I'll say this, next video it'll be running. The next video, I'll make sure it's running for that video. Maybe driving if we get some snow, but for sure running. But anyways, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video. Let me know in the comments how dumb I am, and see you later. Bye-bye. Subscribe. Hey! Subscribe to the channel.